We have breaking news regarding the foreign nation faced-off rosters. All of the players on Sweden, Finland, the U.S., and Team Canada rosters have now officially been revealed. We will take a look at each roster and discuss how they look coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As we all know, tonight was going to be the night when we learned all the roster information for the upcoming Foreign Nation Face-Off International Tournament featuring Team Canada, Team USA, Team Finland, and Team Sweden. Now, I wanted to wait until all the rosters were announced before we do a video. I didn't want to break it all up here. Sweden and Finland were announced earlier this afternoon. They literally just finished announcing the American and Canadian rosters. So here we are. Here are the revealed rosters for all these four teams in the four-nation face-off event. Let's look at Team Sweden first up. Many of the players on their rosters were players I had predicted and projected to be on here, but there were a few that I didn't have that certainly were a little bit surprising. Starting with Sweden, let's take a look at their goaltenders. So we have Jacob Markstrom, Linus Ullmark, and Philip Gustafsson of the Minnesota Wild. They were the three goalies I had projected. No real surprise, although amongst the three, right now the guy with the best stats is Gustafsson. I do wonder if he might have an inside edge to be the starter. And we'll see between Ullmark and Markstrom if they can challenge him to be the number two, or you know what, there's still lots of hockey left as well before this tournament starts. Be curious to see how all these goalies go and who will get that chance on the blue line. Of course, we already knew a few of these names. We knew Victor Hedman and Gustav Forsling and Erik Karlsson were going to be a part of this team. Adding to that, to round out the D-Corps, we have Rasmus Dahlin, the captain of the Sabres, Matthias Ekholm of the Edmonton Oilers, Rasmus Anderson of the Calgary Flames, and Jonas Brodin of the Minnesota Wild. Now, Brodin right now is dealing with an injury. I'm not sure how long-term that's going to be. The good news here is players can be replaced due to injury right up until the day the tournament starts. So there's lots of time. If any of these players get hurt and are going to be out for an extended time and can't participate, these countries have no problem swapping out for another player to take their spot. On the Swedish forward group, we have Vancouver Canuck, Elias Pettersson, Adrian Kempe of the Kings, William Karlsson of Vegas, Joel Eriksson Ek of the Minnesota Wild, Gustav Nyquist of the Predators, Lucas Raymond from Detroit, Mika Zibanejad of the Rangers, Leo Carlsson, a youngster from the Anaheim Ducks, Victor Arvidsson of the Edmonton Oilers, Philip Forsberg of the Nashville Predators, Jesper Bratt of the New Jersey Devils, and of course William Nylander of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, a few of those guys were already confirmed to be on the roster before we knew Nylander was going to be there. We knew Forsberg was going to be there, and we knew Zibanejad was going to be there. So that is your Team Sweden roster. Great goaltending all around. The size on the back end is really quite something. I think their average size would be about 6'3", well over 200 pounds, 210, 215. So they have a big mobile blue line who can punish you back there. They've got lots of forwards that are good two-way players. I think this is going to be a very tough team to play against. I think Sweden might be the deepest roster they've had since they won gold back in 2006 at the Olympics. Taking a look at Team Finland, their goaltenders were, as we had predicted, Jussi Saros likely becomes a starter, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen of the Buffalo Sabres, and Kevin Lankinen from the Vancouver Canucks make up the rest of your goalie trio. Of course, UPL and Lankinen having solid seasons in their own respective rights here. All three goalies having pretty solid years right now. I expect Saros to be the starter, but lots of time to determine that here. On the blue line, we did know about a few of these players, but we have Miro Heiskanen, Esa Lindell, of course, both from the Dallas Stars. We know there's going to be familiarity there. We got Rasmus Ristolainen, Jani Hakanpää of the Maple Leafs, Nico Mikkola of the Panthers, Olli Mata, and Juuso Välimäki of Team Utah. So Hakanpää has only played a little bit. He was a little bit of a surprise, but they don't have a lot more NHL defensemen. So I think, obviously if he ends up having trouble with his knee, because he only played a couple games with the Leafs and ended up on IR, I do wonder, if he'll make it to the tournament, but we'll see. But overall, pretty good blue line. I think the Sweden blue line's a little deeper myself, but Heiskanen, Lindell, Mikkola, Mata, Ristolainen, and Välimäki could be your top six, assuming depending on the status of Hakanpää going into the tournament. But the forward group is very deep, very solid two-way. It's going to be tough to play against. You've got, of course, Barkov, one of the best in the business two-way. You've got a couple of surprises, though, one being Yoel Armia. Mikhail Granlund from the Sharks made the team, no surprise there. But Armia from Montreal was a bit of a surprise. I thought they might go with the younger Konkaniemi. I know he's not having a phenomenal season, but again, thought that might be a bigger development area for the future. Eric Howell from New Jersey. Sebastian Aho, of course, of Carolina. Capo Caco from the Rangers. Arturi Lehkonen and Mikko Rantanen, both from the Colorado Avalanche. Anton Lundell from your Cup champion Florida Panthers. Patrick Laine, who just came back from injury, scored his first goal at the Canadiens last night. Another Panther in Luostarinen. Teuvo Teravainen as well, who, of course, used to play with Aho, is now in Chicago. So, you have a lot of speed, skill, a lot of two-way players in that forward group. I think they'll be, pretty tough to play against. Down the middle, assuming they're going to probably go with Barkov, Aho, and Hintz. You've got size, you've got skill, you've got good two-way play. They are going to be very challenging to play against, no doubt. Looking at Team USA, between the pipes, no big surprises. All three goalies were as predicted. Connor Hellebuyck, Jake Ottinger, Jeremy Swayman. So no surprise there. All three goalies certainly deserve to be there. Hellebuyck, I think, will definitely be the starter. I'm not really too convinced that the other two goalies are going to get a chance to play a whole lot, but if Hellebuyck falters, I would think Ottinger's probably going to be the number 2, but we'll see. They named several blue liners, including Quinn Hughes, Charlie McAvoy, and Adam Fox as the top 6 guys that were named in the summertime. To round out that decor, no big surprise, Jacob Slavin, Brock Faber, Zach Werenski, and Noah Hannafin. There were certainly some other D that were definitely in the mix. For sure. I think a guy like Brett Pesce was under heavy consideration. I think Jake Sanderson was probably in the conversation more in the summer, but his season, it hasn't been bad, but it hasn't been as good as last year. So I think he's taken a little bit of a sophomore slump, kind of second year, kind of going back almost. At least that's the way it feels. I know he's played parts of, this is, I guess, part of his third season. So it's not really a sophomore slump, but at the same time, it feels like it is, based on the way how he signed coming out of college and whatnot. So, Sanderson, he's just not. I think he could be an injury replacement if they need it, but there's a lot of options. They had a lot of great options there on the back end. I thought they might go with a third pair of like a Faber Sanderson, but Pesce was definitely there in the mix as well. At the end of the day, these are the 7. Werenski really played his way into that roster too, so definitely deserving. In the forward group, you've got Austin Matthews, Kyle Connor, Matthew Tkachuk, Jake Gensel, Chris Kreider, Jack Eichel, Matt Boldy, JT Miller, Jack Hughes, Brady Tkachuk, Dylan Larkin, Vinny Trocheck, and Brock Nelson. Now, some surprises here. I honestly did not predict Kreider. I did not predict Trocheck or Nelson. They're all good players, don't get me wrong. One thing I noticed about this forward group of the American team is that they have mostly left shots. I think they only have 2 right shot forwards, which is not a huge deal, but it can be a little bit concerning for a certain, setup and whatnot. But yeah, I thought there were some other players that might play their way onto this roster. But at the end of the day, they went with some experience. They didn't go with some of the youth that I thought they might. A guy like Cole Caulfield couldn't get on this roster, which is a little surprising. I thought Clayton Keller might get on this roster too. But again, they opted to go with some of the older veterans like Kreider and Nelson. So we'll see how this works out for Team USA and, of course, Team Canada. No huge surprises, but there were a couple players that we didn't kind of see coming. And the goaltenders were Jordan Binnington, Aiden Hill, and Samuel Montembeault. I thought they might go with Logan Thompson over Montembeault. I thought Thompson has been the better goalie so far. Montembeault, of course, where some of the games are in Montreal, knows that arena well, but that really shouldn't be a big factor. He did impress early on, and I guess, maybe we'll see really who gets to play here. I suspect probably either Hill or Binnington will be the starter, but hard to say for sure. On the back end, of course, we knew Cale Makar was going to be there. He'll be joined by his Avalanche teammate and defense partner, Devon Taves. Of course, they took 2 from Vegas, which, again, what we thought, Shea Theodore and Alex Pietrangelo. And they'll be joined by Josh Morrissey, Colton Parayko, and Travis Sanheim. Now, Parayko and Sanheim are a little bit of a surprise for sure. I mean, Parayko's got huge size, but not really somebody that a lot of people I think were thinking of or predicted. I think we thought Dougie Hamilton, Mackenzie Weegar, somebody along those lines with Sanheim. Again, lots of options there that he was competing with. So, again, they've had obviously seasons that have impressed the management and the coaching staff, but a couple of guys that weren't really predicted. The top four and really top five, to be honest, was kind of a no-brainer in my opinion. Lots of players were in the mix for those 6-7 spots, and Parayko and Sanheim have won out. Looking at the forward group, you've got Connor McDavid, Mitch Marner, Sidney Crosby, Nathan McKinnon, Sam Reinhart, Brad Marchand, Mark Stone, Braden Point, Brandon Hagel, Anthony Cirelli, Sam Bennett, Travis Konechny, and Seth Jarvis. So they don't have really, Jarvis being the youngest player here, they really don't have any of that really young youth that we're kind of looking at the future. I thought there might be an outside chance that they put in Connor Bedard, a lesser chance, but maybe an outside shot out like a Macklin Celebrini, maybe an Alexis Lafreniere, but none of those guys made the cut, all having good seasons. I thought Mark Scheifele might be a bit of a shoo-in. I wonder if the Jets kind of, after their hot start, they have cooled off their last 10 games. I think they've only won 3. So I wonder if that little tailspin that the Jets are in, if that kind of cost him a spot. But I mean, looking at the guys that are on there, I mean, Mark Stone's probably the most injury prone out of all of them. If Stone can't go, I would kind of think maybe a guy like Scheifele might be the replacement, but it plays a different style of the game. But knowing John Cooper's the head coach and obviously a lot of influence, not surprised to see Cirelli and Hagel. And to be honest, I think they kind of have some deserving factors there as well. I know like Robert Thomas, Ryan O'Reilly would have been in the mix. I know Leaf fans wanted to see John Tavares. I wasn't confident he was going to be selected. But I mean, there's so many good Canadian players that you probably could make a second roster here and have a really good team as well. But certainly lots of high-end talent with the Canadian club. I think, you look at the back end, it's pretty solid too. A little bit smaller than the other countries. The U.S. group is going to be really gritty. When you get the Tkachuk brothers, you've got a guy like, even if you take a look at the way Kreider plays and the way Trocheck plays and Miller, and then some of the guys in the back end too, it's going to be a gritty group to play against. There's no doubt. So it's going to be an intense tournament. But that's why Canada brought some of those players, like a Sam Bennett, like a Hagel, like a Konechny. They have skill, but they are a pain in the butt to play against. And I think they, knowing what the other countries might do, we're kind of trying to counteract that. So at the end of the day, these are the rosters. There's always going to be players left out that are probably deserving. But like I said, if there's injuries, some of these guys who are not on there today could be on there before the tournament starts. So let me know your thoughts on the rosters. Who you think might win? Who might be some of the guys waiting in the wings here if there are injuries to possibly take a spot in case that happens? Let me know your thoughts on the rosters for the Four Nation Face-Offs down in the comments. We'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll be back a little bit later to wrap up all of today's news and rumors from around the NHL. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.